I'm talking about conspicuous consumption, and I will continue to hold leaders responsible. The term conspicuous consumption was coined by American sociologist Thorstein Veblen, describing a phenomenon of acquiring luxury goods and services, specifically for public display of economic power and influence and affluence, in excessive quantity than is practical, projecting certain social status and to provoke envy. In Veblen's case, he was referring to private individuals, especially the novo-rich. My concern today is the incomprehensible, where we have normalized conspicuous consumption by governments of impoverished people. Officials flaunt brand new cars, the presidency wants new jets and yachts, all in a nation with rudimentary public transport. Public officials blare sirens in fleets of imported cars, racing through potholes and crossing places like River Ibi in Taraba State, in ramshackle ferries, dressed with generous wardrobe and accommodation allowances, when we have millions of hungry homeless children roaming the streets in rags and millions of internally displaced persons. Imagine all the resources being conspicuously consumed by public officials, invested in public transportation systems instead. We would definitely have developed a robust public transportation system, even if it is only using buses. One of the politicians once justified the need for SUVs, saying the roads are bad. I can only sigh at that. Apart from the presidential fleet, some governors have private jets too. How about having functional state and national carriers to generate revenue? In contrast, countries like Ethiopia, Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda all have functional national airlines. I've been touring these countries of late, and all I can say is that we need to get serious as a nation. I did a rough analysis using AI and some data, not very accurate, but gives an idea, and arrived at about 30 to 50 billion naira to develop and maintain a nationwide bus public transport system with initial setup in 5 major cities. The main cost drivers were infrastructure and bus fleet development. Others were technology and human resources. Imagine the value chain that will be unlocked should such an idea see the light of day. There are obvious needs and gaps, and filling them is not rocket science. The UK, for example, has a comprehensive bus public transport system through public-private partnerships with private ownership and government regulation. How can this be a difficult thing to do?
A country of my Mercedes is better than yours and bigger than
From
yours.
generator.
Yeah, I pass my neighbor. I better pass my neighbor generator. I love your advocacy. Again, we have brilliant advocacies today. They're just spot on, touching, hitting the spots all the way. But what stands out to me most, I'm trying to look for, you say, what is incomprehensible is the normalization of conspicuous consumption by governments of impoverished people. And that speaks a lot about the thinking of the ruling class in Nigeria and the wanton display of money and affluence and wealth by even the middle class. So it's not just the upper class, even the middle class.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Even the middle class. And how we've normalized it in such a way that we've put pressure on a lot of people, especially our youths. They now want to do something quick, so the get-rich-quick syndrome.
We're talking about it in the car.
Yes, the get-rich-quick syndrome is there for our Gen Zs. They don't want to wait. No patience. Again, we're talking about patience. Yeah. No patience. They just want to, jump into this. But
no.
Again, it comes back to you, and Dave, what we were saying about Benga's advocacy. You see, you put the blame on the ruling class. You've talked about politicians going,
Am I driving fleet of cars?
That's not followership, right? But they came from within us. And it's a culture that they took to that place.
I said the same people who are being represented by these rulers, I don't call them leaders because they don't bring anything worthwhile replicating. They're the ones that will go cap in hand when these rulers come to the village or come to visit them and ask to collect money for whatever they're collecting money for. That's it, leader. Let me steal. When I come, I give you. You will leave me alone. So that's the thing. And they put themselves in a position where they are okay, accepting of crumbs when the bakery is their own. But they are willing to let them shave the crumbs and give them. The bakery is yours. And you are saying, no, baker, just give me small.
When the bakery is yours.
Bakery is yours.
Yes, super.
Yes, please, that's all I gotta say.
It's more philosophical. Let's think. Babani, the leader of the Egypt 80 band, Fela's band, He had this song he used to open with. It's called Owaye, The Things of This World. He says, the things you love the most in life, you can't take it when you go. When you die, you're just dust. So that Lamborghini, that Birkin bag, everything you've labored to buy, you can't take a single pin. So that I think when we think about that and we reflect on that,
They don't think.
They want to carry the bag now. We'll talk about that later.
I mean, you know,
You talked about the way that the public officials spend. And the way you know they spend is the things that you see them buy, private jets, cars, and all that.
first class tickets.
So let me start by talking about that. For instance, Nigeria has an auto policy that is heavy on local assembly or local production of vehicles, and also EVs and stuff like that, CNG initiative. It's a government policy. Now, you'll expect that government will want to show seriousness with that policy.
With their own
by
policies.
modeling it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So if this public sector, are the ones insisting that no public official or no public expenditure for automobile will be done for imported vehicles, but for
Local.
vehicles
Assembled at least.
locally, you'll find out that all other players will take notice.
Yes.
But today, the biggest customer of imported vehicles in Nigeria is the public sector. And that's government. That's taxpayers' money.
Including
All right.
the legislature.
Exactly.
All of them.
So,
Particularly the
so that
legislature.
tells you that there's a huge disconnect between
That's right.
what the
policy and reality.
policy.
They say the road is bad now.
Just on
What did you-
paper.
The politicians say the
that's-
road is
that's-
bad.
that's
That's why
one.
he needs.
That's one angle. You look at the budget and then look at how much we allocate for overheads, okay, salaries and stuff like that. Now, this is for either you're looking at it from the subnationals or the federal. Whichever way you look at it, the budget of each state or the federal government is only addressing 1% of the workforce. Because when you think about it,
How many people?
how many people is it going to
Yeah.
impact? Okay,
Yeah.
so when you look at overheads and you see how much they are spending for the structure, the bureaucratic structure of
That they
government
put up.
itself,
It's a lot.
you get to the point where you say this is not sustainable.
Yeah.
And then the only logical response to it is cut down the size of government. And guess what? We've had the Orosoye report
They're not
that
gonna
has been
do that.
sitting down
It's gathering
for
dust.
10 years.
They're not going to
Yeah.
do that.
Okay,
No.
which actually advocated and advised and gave the structure for the cut down of the civil service in Nigeria, but nobody wants to touch it.
When is your
because
turn?
It's like, maybe the next administration would do that. So
Yeah.
my point is, at the end of the day, we're not serious.
And I think we need to remove that word excellency in addressing any government official.
Straight up.
Because their behavior
It's
and
not
from
there's
excellence.
nothing excellent about it. And they
Distinguished,
need to stop
honorable.
their siren because
They are
they're
copious.
always in a rush. And you think they're in a rush to fix Nigeria or do something. But
I like that. You think they're in a rush to fix Nigeria.
How can I love what you said?
What did he say?
Times.
You see,
they need to ban siren.
They're
It's not
always in a
because
rush.
they're
He thinks they're in a rush to go and
but
fix
because they're
Nigeria.
rushing, and you assume they're in a rush to fix.
They are not in a rush to fix
Nigeria.
anything.
Yeah.
They just need to.
All right.
They just need to impress and oppress.
Yeah.